a soul awakening, a cool home. We're here to remember that we are more than stories, more than skin, more than survival. We are divine identities, coded in stardust and soulfire. We live in alignment with the infinite, in rhythm with ancient wisdom, and in harmony with collective purpose. Our mission is to reveal the Christ within, to awaken the God seed in every soul, to equip a new humanity for sacred, relevant, and impactful engagement across every sphere of life. Here at Wi-Fi, love is unconditional, trust is a frequency, faith is a force, and power flows where truth lives. This is Wisdom and Flow, where the divine rises and you remember who you've always been. To stay connected with us, to live aligned, love deeply, and flow divinely. Our core values are divine love, radical oneness, conscious awakening, and transformative service. We believe that all of life flows from and within the universe's divine essence, a loving, omnipresent, and inclusive presence, expressed fully in every soul. Each person is a living temple of God, and our sacred practice is to see and express the divine in ourselves and all of life. This is love in action, where we affirm a unified world where no one is excluded, no soul is opposed by darkness, and no power stands outside of love. We equally believe in the urgency to awaken humanity to the good news of their redemption, a divine invitation to rise from the inferior expression of life to the most radiant, attractive, and abundant life possible. Our calling is to embody this truth and co-create a reality where spirit flows freely, purposefully, and powerfully. I will now go through this evocation to God. Father, Mother, God, the embodying presence of all life. May their forces within me now become just and attentive to divine promptings, that I may always be awake to the power of your spiritual presence. Father, Mother, God, lift my entire life into conscious union with you, renewing me daily in the spirit of love, forgiveness, and fullness of joy. From this body temple in me, in which you live, let your goodwill shine forth through my aura, redeeming, consecrating, and perfecting all I see, touch, and relate with. All of the holy thoughts of my Father, Mother, God, take up the wings of the wind and the flash of lightning minister as angels to my soul. God, you are the light, the power, and the eternal blessing. In you I live always, and to you be all glory forever. From the center of the universe, within the vastness of my soul, I evoke thee to come forth, a God of all life, all wisdom, all power, all love, and all splendor to flourish for my laudable undertaking. I am one of thee, O great spirit of spirits, because the fullness of you embodies my soul. Let your power, love, and presence shine radiantly through me, guiding all my ways and divine ambitions to reveal the brightness of your day. Riding in center of you, most adorable God, my will and courage are energized by your doom of beauty and power. My ways are filled with holy influence as a expression to all your divine attributes through me. In union with you, and your power always works through me. Nothing in the entire universe opposes my good. All things work for the fulfillment of my will. The spirit of the air is ministering the life presence of God to me, renewing my soul, mind, and body. The spirit of the fire is ministering God's transforming and transmutating grace through me, making me bright and absorb holy learning from pain. The spirit of the water is ministering God's destroying grace for my life, and I am ever purified and reborn with the fullness of the God presence. The spirit of the earth is ministering God's stabilizing love in my soul. In the fullness of my Godhood, I'm radiantly perfect in the midst of the element. I successfully create my will to the glory of God. O God, the flame of your divine love and wisdom purifies my mind and will. And you have become the health of my soul, mind, and body. All of life is assembled, working for my highest good, and my life is becoming the never ending, ever revealing glory through mighty magic presence. I take authority over my life and bless every condition I go through to reveal the greater good in my life. To you, O Father and Mother God, the most holy, who is the vastness of my soul, be all praise and glory throughout the ages. To your name be the might and power without end. Amen.
Amen. Welcome, beloved souls, into this sacred space of peace, purpose, and divine alignment. I want us to begin by gently closing our eyes and allowing our body to soften. And as we do this, let us take deep breath, 3 deep breaths. With a count of 4 and holding for 7 and then exhaling for 8 counts. We'll do this in 3 rounds. And then inhale. And the final round, inhale. And with each breath, we are coming home to stillness, presence, and infinite now. I want us to allow ourselves to drop from mind, even as we are in the space of stillness, into our heart space. Let us become aware of the sacred presence that is always here. This is a presence of pure spirit, divine intelligence, the infinite one, and by whatever name you choose to call it, whether it be God, source, divine love. And I want us to know that as we hear, we are not seeking to become spiritual, but we are remembering that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And in this remembrance, we align with the truth of our being, whole, worthy, empowered, and connected. And I also want us to know that we are not here to get something, but we are here to let something emerge. And so we open ourselves to divine download this morning, to inner guidance, and a truth that liberates us. Right here and right now, we acknowledge that one life is perfect, whole, and complete, and is expressing through us and in us and with us. I speak this word of truth, knowing that the presence of spirit is alive in every individual in this space, whether it be online or in person. Each one of us here is here by divine appointment, ready to be uplifted, expanded, and renewed. We release all thoughts of limitation, doubt, and fear. And I want us to affirm that I am receptive. I am available. I am aligned with the highest good. In a spirit of divine entities bearing this work, we welcome transformation not just for ourselves, but for the collective soul of humanity. We open ourselves with holy expectation that transformation is not only possible, but it is inevitable within us. Now, in the vibration of this sacred intention, we enter into a moment of stillness. And here, beyond words, beyond thoughts, is the source of all. Here we listen with our heart. We listen not with our hearts, but we listen not with our ears, but with our hearts. Let us be still and let a still small voice guide us. Let the divine love embrace us. And as we return from stillness, we bring with us a renewed awareness of our purpose. We bless this service, every speaker, and every soul that will share. And we affirm that this time together is sacred, powerful, and transformative. And I want us to say together, so it is. Amen.
My name is Paul Hill.
Bless us. Last week, we started to look at pendulums, the hidden architecture of reality. Who is thinking you? And I tried to, or attempted to, give a bit of should I say, an explanation of what a pendulum is. Who remembers? Remembers? What do you remember from last week's? Anyone?
Well, from the definition I know of a pendulum is a weight, the literal sense of it. Is a weight suspended from a fixed point that swings freely backwards and forward under the influence of gravity.
But in the context of our discussion, we weren't talking about a literal. We weren't talking about a literal pendulum.
Well, if we bring the literal thing to break it down, the literal understanding.
Okay. To relate that to what we're talking about, since it will bring it down, relate that to the word.
Well, I know it's like a pendulum is like a motion, like that's been set, that's set in place, like a system. Okay. A system that has been set in place that we just keep moving to it. We find ourselves in. It could be an organization or a system, a way of doing things that without thinking or consciously, we will just be following it to and fro, in and out, round and round, without, and it's controlling us rather than living consciously.
All right. Anyone else? In essence, having two or more minds think the same thought or the same pattern and charge it, having a charged emotional, putting emotions to thought and swaying with it. It's repetitive, emotional, collective, just as described. And I did say that in traditional esoteric traditions, or in conventional esoteric traditions, is the same thing that we refer to as an egregore. A thought form that is fed into existence. So when we pour individually into a collective field, that field becomes an entity of itself, which drives ideologies, movements, institutions. Sometimes when we understand what pendulum is swaying you, or what pendulum you are swaying with, it can help you understand why you behave the way you behave sometimes. And I did touch on the importance for us to shift from thinking to being thought. So I've said this a few times, we think we are thinking, but the truth is our thoughts chooses, and we get addicted to the thoughts that is choosing us per time. And the process of brooding on it is what we interpret as thinking. Our thoughts think us. So you might say you choose this career, you choose this belief system, you choose this identity. But what if all you've done is just tune into a frequency? And that frequency already has a script that once you've tuned into it, you are bound to play that script. And for me, having this understanding is where the illusion cracks. Because pendulums do not need our permission. It only needs your attention, just like thought. It needs your attention. And what was it called? Your emotion. So long as you're giving your attention and emotion to it, you abide by you abide by it. Simple as. It's like someone wanting a fight out of you. They only get a fight if you choose to fight them back. Yeah. But if you ignore them, they can't fight you. Okay. So sometimes the more we even talk about the pendulum, the more we energize it. Feed it. It only requires your attention. It doesn't need your permission. It only needs your attention. Said. And we also talked about the fact that we are all imagination. Touching on a much deeper layer. The fact that most people miss is imagination conscious or unconscious?
Both.
Explain.
You can, I think we are constantly imagining things, just like thoughts, We're constantly imagining things, but we can control it. We can consciously control it, that this is what I want to imagine. But there are times you can just drift into some kind of imagination based on your thoughts, based on that same unconscious thought that linger. And then you choose to grab onto one thought and then imagine all sorts of things with it, which can be you're doing it unconsciously. But you can also choose that, okay, this thought has come to mind and I'm consciously programming, imagining it going this way. So it can be both.
Has anyone got any different thought? Does anyone think differently to that? Because if imagination is not conscious, then it's occupied, isn't it? Can we be our own pendulums? Based on our understanding about pendulums, can we be our own pendulums?
I think we are. Our habits, not pendulums, kind of.
If the environment that is dictating the habit will be more the pendulum
Okay.
than the habit itself. Yeah. So it's still imaginal, externalized imaginal forces, which hijack our imagination, I'll say imagination, hijack our imagination.
A quick question.
Yeah, go on.
When we talk about, anytime I hear pendulums, it sounds like it's negative, but there are positive pendulums, aren't there?
Of course. Of course. Of course. Of course. Of course. But and that's what Carl Jung says, if the unconscious is not lived consciously, we call it fate. See, the moment is the moment you become aware of it and you take control, or you gain consciousness, and that's where it becomes a positive thing. But when you aren't necessarily, most of the time when we aren't aware of it, the default is that it militates against you. It militates against you because it's just the tone of the environment, of the vibe of the environment. That's why it puts people into identity loops and reaction loops and fear loops. So instead of positioning yourself to consciously engage with reality, you react to it without even realizing it. You snap without even realizing it because that is the dictate of that particular pendulum. I did ask as well. So if you are hearing voices in your head, who is the one hearing it? Because if you can't hear the voice, then it's not you, is it? If you can hear it, then it's not you. There's a third entity or a subsidiary entity, or if I could call it. And if it's not you, then what is it? Very often, what dictates our unconscious actions, our unconscious activities are just echoes of the pendulum. And we talked about how pendulums are fed. And they don't care whether you support them or you oppose it. They're not really, they're indifferent. They only care about your engagement. So whether you are for or against it, it will still feed on your energy. So our fears, our anger, even our righteousness, obsession with being right, all of these feed the pendulums which sway us. And I've come to appreciate that. That's why sometimes political debates, they never end. Because whether you are arguing for or against it, you are still feeding the energy. You're still feeding the energy. So it's not about being for it or being against it. It just needs energy. It just needs something to keep it moving. That's all. So for or against, it still feeds the pendulum. When you have repeat cycles of outrage, same thing. I think that's one thing that comes to mind is what Neville says. In fact, it's Abdullah who says that assumptions harden into facts. that identity that then hardens over time, and then it becomes you without you even realizing it. The ultimate goal of the egregore is just energy. It just needs energy to keep itself in motion, for or against. So that's the gist of what we touched on last week. And I recall I ended off by saying that one of the dangerous emotions, the most dangerous emotion, not emotions, illusions that I have come to realize is when we become conditioned to an idea of us. This is who I am. Very dangerous. It's dangerous. And it positions us for pendulum to fuse with that identity, and then we defend it. Even when it's destroying us, we don't recognize it. Because often when we are so addicted and when we are so passionate and strong about a certain identity we hold, it's all as a result of prehistoric conditioning, as opposed to giving ourselves the benefit to really discover at the core what makes us what we are. So that's how far we went, or that's where we got to last week. Anyway, we want to go deeper into this session. These might sound theoretical, but I always say if the theory is solid, the practice is easy. See, we don't teach metaphysics to sound profound. No. We don't talk about spirituality the way we do as a means of entertaining ourselves. But to go deeper into some of the truths that are unsettling for many. Most of the things that we suffer, or we even believe that we endure, are in themselves energization processes. Much of what we try to avoid, we unconsciously tune into it. So the book of Job will say that the things that I feared came upon me, that which I dreaded happened to me. And until we understand this, we will keep calling these patterns which are fed unconsciously, we will keep calling them life. Or they become a reactive personality. Oh, this is just how it is. Oh, but this is the reality, statements like that. But I found another way to see it. Which is by our understanding of those collective energetic structures, or pendulums, as we want to call it, that do not just merely exist around us, but which attempt to capture our attention and regulate our emotions, pull us into lifelines that match their frequency. It's key. The very things that make us, we get angry about things, we get upset about things, and we are so poised and so aggressively passionate about it to the point that we refuse to see any other side, any other opinion to it that we have, or that we might not have considered. We get so strong about it. It's so addicted that, you know what, I know this, I believe this, and it has to be this. I want this to be right. We don't even realize it when it destroys us. So I want us to go deeper into the energy game of pendulums. How they control our thoughts, how they control emotion, how they grip our timeline, what is it called, our timelines, our lifelines. And why and how sometimes the very thing you fear, the very thing you hate, the very thing you resist, you can't even stop talking about it. Constantly talking about what it's so ingrained in our language. We talk more about what we don't want than what we really want. I'm not sure if anyone agrees with me on that. You sit down and begin to consciously engage with your thought, and you realize that 70-80% of the time it's about the things you don't want, the things you hate, the things you want to avoid, the things you don't desire happening, the thoughts you don't want to think, the things you don't want to do. I'm not sure if any of us have made that, or what is it called, has made that observation. See, so most of us think that reality is external to us. Reality is outside of us. Reality is something fixed. Reality is something objective. Reality is something that happens to us. Something that we must deal with, something that we must react to, something we must survive, something we must manage, something we must change, something we must endure, and all these narratives we put to it. So when events happen in our lives, the most immediate thing we do, oh, this and that happened to me. This situation ruined my peace. This situation took my peace away, and that person made me angry. The economy is doing this to us. Politicians are doing this to us. They are making the world stressful. They are making the world unsafe. They are making, so we become victims to life. Life is hard. People are impossible. I'm not totally discrediting these mind patterns or these set of thinking, but I want us to begin to listen carefully when we hear some of these things. There's a level to which these might be understood, and when we position ourselves to want to think on what we want and how and what things should be like, we are not denying the practical world. No, it's not being in self-denial. It was called self-denial. And neither are we pretending circumstances do not matter. You know, I've been caught a few times. Tell people, oh, you're cool. Oh, it's in your mind. You know, I'm quite bad for it. And when I say that, I've come to understand that I'm not saying to someone that their pain or their discomfort is only, they are only imagining it. But what transurfing has taught me is giving me a sharper lens to look at things. Yes, the outer circumstance may exist. Yes, the weather may be cold. Yes, the heat in the kitchen may be unbearable. But the quality of reality we enter is deeply connected to the frequency of the consciousness we sustain per time. We were in the session with the boys this morning. Not sure J. Samuel or if Doron is there as well. What did we capture today that kind of resonates with this point? If you want to share with the adults. Any one of you two? Anyone at all? The frequency of what's it called of consciousness we sustain, which frees us to see external reality for what it is, as opposed to making ourselves cheap victims of our circumstances and what's outside of us. So the golden consciousness. Jay, do you want to go for it? What were we talking about this morning?
Oh. Well, this morning, in the video we watched, they explained how God is not, there is no distance between you and God, but He is within you. God is you. Like when you pray, you're not praying to a being. You are God, or you're praying to God, expressing Himself as consciousness. And it also explains how being detached from things or being an empty person allows you to be filled with God. So they said. And true peace begins when you stop trying to control life and stop seeking fulfillment.
Sadly, our addiction to controlling external stimuli, as opposed to stepping away, stepping aside. See, sustaining the frequency of God consciousness. So it's never about what is happening to us. I think that's where most of us become uncomfortable. But I look at it from this space. If I am deeply centered to the frequency of God consciousness and sustaining God consciousness, then in the face of whatever, what do I ask myself? What frequency did I enter in to respond to this? Or do I need to enter into it? Do I ask God to respond to this? Whatever is happening, what pendulum did I begin to swing with to find myself in this space? And then you are redirecting it to you, as opposed to power in the hands of the external circumstance. Not sure if I'm making sense. And that to me is a different conversation. That's the difference between why is this happening to me to what frequency am I tuned in to experience this. They're two different things. And that for me puts power in your hands. Because once you identify the pendulum, you swing out of his influence. Once you're not aware of it, it swings you. What script did I begin to feed that is dictating these emotions, that is dictating this reaction? That to me is more of the question than why is this happening? Why is he doing that? Why is that doing that? Why are they doing that? Why are they no. Frequency am I tuned in that's making me exercise this anxiety, this worry, this concern? And sit with it till you identify it. We've gone over the fact that reality contains, as we call it, alternative spaces. We have dealt with that in previous weeks. Infinite field of possible scenarios, events, lifelines. So it's not fixed. The fact that something is showing up in a particular way doesn't mean it's just dictated by one space or one principle of reality. You can change the script. Are there any questions at this point? The emotional and the mental state we are in, still talking about sustained consciousness, the emotional and mental state we're in ultimately dictates how we see things, what we choose to dwell on, what we choose to feel, how we choose to feel. And the truth is, what we consistently feel, what we consistently dwell on, what we habitually return to, what we dramatize, what we rehearse, what we fear, what we resent, what we even adore, what we defend, or the things that we identify with, they become the frequencies by which we are matched to the corresponding sectors of reality that they dictate. See? The saying that the world is like a mirror reflecting what we do, I've come to appreciate, is so true. So true. The experiences we have on the outside, they are 100% our projections of it. 100%. How we perceive life, how we perceive people, how unwell we think of ourselves. Show up. Let's not focus on changing. You can't change the reflection, change the projection. Like if you are in the one thing that drummed this home for me is like music. You see, the music you hear is a result of resonance. See, the reflection is a result of the projection. Lifelines already exist. I can't believe on that point. The scripts already there, the scripts already there, the scenes are already there. Your state, the state you're in, the consciousness you sustain dictates which one you enter per time. So when you're having experiences or good reality spaces that we don't enjoy, ask yourself, what state of consciousness did I assume to have this experience? That is the question. And that state of consciousness, or let's call it of consciousness, will be tied to a pendulum. So that's why, does it surprise us then that we will consistently say, why does this keep happening to me? Why does this keep happening that way? But we are repeatedly broadcasting the exact emotional signature that sustains that kind of reality. The exact anxiety, the exact fear, the exact worries and concerns that sustain that. Well, we bring about what we think about. What we resist, that's what. What happens to what we resist? The cliche saying.
Persists.
What we resist persists. See? If I want to keep a cork submerged underwater, what do I need to do to it?
Keep pressing it down.
You have to keep applying pressure to it, isn't it? So at that point, who is controlling who?
The cork.
The cork is controlling you. The moment you let go, it comes back up. It fights. So, see, let's play back to. I didn't want to talk about politics, but let's be political a little bit. Mr. Orangehead is talking about annihilating an entire civilization and taking them back to the Stone Age. What you forget is that you might only succeed at beating them to someone today. The memory lives on, and their children will come to fight you. It's a never-ending cycle. It's a never-ending cycle. Live and let live. Doesn't require your agreement. Pendulums only require your engagement. You just need to engage with it. It needs your energy, your loyalty, whether for or against it. A pendulum doesn't even require you to believe in it. And for me, that's one of the most important things to understand. Many of us imagine that if we oppose something, then we are free of it. But that's not true. Because opposition or dislike for something is just another form of attachment. Isn't it? It is another form of attachment. Because love can bind, hatred can bind, support can bind, resistance can bind. Why? Pendulums feed on your energetic involvement, not your opinion. I mean, we can't stress that point enough. If your thoughts are returning to it, whether you like the person or whether you hate them in your head, if your emotions are circling to it, if your nervous system is aroused by it, if your sense of self is activated by it, you are feeding it. You know? And that's why a child still behaves the way he does. See? Constantly we put in the fuel to sustain his foolishness. And this is why people become enslaved, not only to what they admire, but what they equally despise. So you talk about, often the story has been told, people who find themselves in abusive relationships, they were so conditioned to not wanting to be in one. See? I hate politics. I'm sick of drama. I can't stand toxic people. I can never be poor. I don't want to be poor and all these things. People have been saying this for years and still they are struggling because the addiction is to the poverty. The attachment is to the poverty. One that really breaks me. I don't want this to happen. Every time I hear, when I hear people say that, like, my emotions go all over the place. Tell me what you want to happen. I'm not interested in what you don't want. What do you want to happen? I don't want this to happen. And you are giving the energy to what you don't want to happen. Tell me what you want to happen. Because if these states are emotionally charged and they are repeated or rehearsed mentally, then there's no way you can be free from them. You just be in an orbit around them. Whether it's bitter or sour, or just orbit around it. And it's one truth that has changed how I see life. And I repeatedly want to share it. I repeatedly share it with people with the hope that they will catch it. Whatever we get fixated on emotionally, whether for or against, we tune into it. It can be simple. It's too simple. That's why we miss it. Because in our condition, I have to hate it. I have to despise it to not have it. See, how can you hate something when the thing is not in your awareness? Is it possible? You can't despise something you are not aware of. So every time you are expressing dislike for something, you are creating and reinforcing that the presence of that thing in your awareness. And it's your statement to the universe that, you know what, give me the opportunity to express myself in dissatisfaction. So the universe gives you it so that you can give it that expression. It's too simple. Way too simple. Still miss it. This doesn't, let me just put this caveat. This doesn't mean that every passing thought instantly materializes. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that every fleeting fear becomes your destiny. It doesn't mean that. And neither does it mean that life is like a childish vending machine that just dishes out everything you press at it. No, it doesn't mean that. But what it means is that sustained emotional attention generates power. Good or bad, liked or disliked. And that the world begins to rearrange itself around the structure of what we keep feeding. You understand? So long as you energize in it, circumstances will arrange to make it happen the way you want or not want it. That is the reality. So it might appear a bit as a counterintuitive statement. If there is something you strongly do not want, it may appear in your life precisely because of your resistance to it. You resist it, it persists. I don't want it. The universe will give you the opportunity to express, no, you're not wanting it. Because that is the expression you want to have, the expression of not wanting it. The feeling. In as much as it might sound absurd to the ordinary mind. Because the ordinary mind will think, or the untrained mind will think, oh, but I'm resisting it because I don't want it. Yes. But resistance, as I said, again, it's energy. And if it's emotionally saturated, it keeps your attention bound to what you're trying to resist, what you're trying to avoid. Your attention is bound to it. Your attention becomes a slave to that which you don't want, gets energized, and you get it good measure, pressed down, shaking together around it. So, as I said last week, the pendulum does not care whether you are saying, I want it or I hate it. It doesn't care. It's only one question that it asks. Are you vibrating with it? And if the answer is yes, if the answer to that is yes, then a connection already exists, and you have no choice than to sway with it. But New Zealand gives an analogy of the apple, and it's one that I've come to love. I'll say this and I'll share this and I'll end there. So imagine someone who eats an apple, or who eats apples. Like, not mildly, but I mean, they dislike apples passionately. Everywhere they go, they will notice apples. Complain about apples. You're irritated by apples, people who don't like snakes. You're irritated by snakes. They make speeches against apples. They tell others how awful. Oh, are you eating an apple? Ew. They go to the extreme of even telling others how awful apples are. They grow tense at the sight of what they don't like. So let's say the apple itself. And now you begin to form a mental catalog of how many apples are even in a space that you find yourself in. There's the paradox. What this person is naturally saying is that they want a life free of apples. But energetically, apples will dominate their awareness. Because their thought energy is constantly tuned to the frequency of apples. It doesn't know dislike or like. It's just the frequency of it. And that state of mind dictates their reality. So in essence, if you want to call it, they are feeding the apple pendulum. I'm not sure if anybody can relate to this. You keep noticing patterns in people that you are so conditioned to hating. They keep doing it. I put my hand up. I leave it. You know, you're surrounded by the things you love to hate. Because your energy, your obsession is to not wanting them. And it's because the world can only mirror what you are fixated on. And that's not because you are being attacked by any of these, but because you are emotionally charged to whatever we select. See? And if I want to expand on this, for someone, it might be an apple. To another person, it might be betrayal, disrespect, rejection, poverty, illness, humiliation, and feeling embarrassed, competition, gossip, failure, loneliness, disorder, conflict. I don't want to be rejected again. Had this failed relationship, and I don't want. Always, I don't want. So, always we are rehearsing the things we don't want. In essence, what that means is we are anticipating the occurrence. I can't say it any other way. So our resistance becomes the resistance to whatever we don't want. It becomes an invitation to it. That is one secret. And it's not because reality is cruel, but because energy is consistent and coherent. I'm done. anymore. Maybe next week we can go into the feeling. What's called feeling is a secret, because it kind of aligns with this. It wasn't really part of my script, but it just dropped in my head that maybe we can touch a bit on that. Yeah, because it aligns with pendulums. Anyone? Any thoughts? Any questions? Jose Bunzu, you still there? No head. I've not read your text today. Samuel, do you understand what we're saying? Okay. Thoughts, anyone? Else we wrap up. Anyone?
I don't have any.
I want just to sit on this. Whatever you've heard today. What is coming through? What is it calling your attention to? What I want you to do, wherever you're sat, I want you to tilt your head anti-clockwise 7 times. When you're done, take a deep breath in. And when you breathe out, just thrust yourself forward. And return your head to its normal position. And I just sit with it. Just observe whatever is coming through. It's one of the ways to break the consciousness of the body. Just sit with it. Ah. Now celebrate the liberation that has found you. Spirit of God moved upon the waters and breathed into the face of man the breath of life. Let Michael be my leader and Saptal be my servant. In and through and by light. Let the verb be my breath, and I will command the spirit of air by day, and I will bridle the horses of the sun with the will of my heart, and the thoughts of my mind, and the commandment of my right eye. I therefore exercise the creature of air by pentagrammaton, and in the name of tetragrammaton, in which is firm will and true faith. Amen. Selah, fiat. So much it be. Spirit of life, spirit of wisdom, whose breath gives and takes away the form of all things, you before whom the life of beings is a shadow which changes and a vapor which passes. You who raise the clouds and who walks in the wings of the winds. You who exhale and the spaces without end is peopled. You who inhale and then all which comes from you goes back to you. Movement without end in eternal stability. Be thou eternally blessed. We praise you, we bless you. In the ever-changing empire of greater light, of shadows, of reflections, and of images. And we aspire ceaselessly to your immutable and imperishable splendor. Let the ray of your intelligence and the warmth of your love penetrate all the way to us. Then that which is mobile, volatile, shall be fixed. The shadow shall be a body, and the spirit of air shall be a soul. The dream will be a reality. And we will never again be carried away by the tempest, because we will hold the bridles of the winged horses of dawn and will rule the race of the night winds to fly to your presence. O Creator, breath of all beings, in the flow and the reflow of the eternal word, that is the divine ocean movement. Protect us, and so let it be. Amen. And now from the place where God remains God and true, as each and every one of us, from the place where you are the medicine of life for cosmic magnificence, I bless you. I bless you. God bless you. Amen. Life as us. See you next week.